Ladies and gentlemen, David Difference. Oh, what a difference that Dave makes. Here with the fabulous Roxy. I consider you my little sister. All right. Is that okay? Is that a fair assessment? You are the mother of my niece, Faith. I've known you for years now, but there's a lot about you that I don't know. And we had got to talking and you said that you wanted to tell your story, that maybe your story could help others. And we said, well, I got the podcast stuff set up, come through, let's talk about it. And we actually got to talking the other day and just a little bit, and it started to get deep. And let's say we'll just hold off and let's wait till we're running. So here we are.
Yay. It's happening.
And I guess we'll figure out the direction and the flow of where this goes. And I'm looking forward to hearing what you have to say and just having those conversations. Obviously, we have things in common. I consider you family, so you are family. So we're going to talk about it and go there. So a little introduction about yourself to everybody out there.
Well, it's my first time speaking in front of... No, it's not my first time speaking in front of a camera. I'm actually quite comfortable, but it's my first launch doing a podcast, and I was a little scared to do it myself, so I asked Dave to do it. What do you go by, Dave?
David Difference, David. No, you can call me whatever you want.
Thank you for always trying to be a part of Faith's life. Her name is Faith. And I wanted to come on here to not inspire others, because for me, it's sort of inspirational category, but it's more to help. So what would that be, like motivational speaking?
No. I think that is inspire or influence. The term influencer is thrown around, but positive influence, I think we all need that. And I think that as far as the gist of what I got through your stories, hopefully it'll touch somebody and impact them in a positive way. So I guess I wouldn't say, I don't like motivational speaking.
Yeah, I don't like that either, because I'm not here to, I'm going to impact your life. I just want to share my testimony and what God's done through my
100%.
whole life, the past, since 2017. So it's been very important to me. When I was going through something, I had no one to go to. I didn't know what to seek, who to seek. Therapy seemed like out of the question because I didn't want to go to nobody. So it's like, hey, if I stumble upon something, I would go down the rabbit hole. Is that what they call it? And hey, hopefully somebody can find this and go down that rabbit hole of transformation, and just based off of testimonies, the things that happened throughout that time period, or even my whole life, actually.
As human beings, we all have a lot in common. It may not be the exact same scenarios, but people can understand different feelings or situations in life that you go through, and hopefully you can relate to stories or the lessons that you learned. Especially for me, without parent figures, you got to figure stuff out on your own. And it's always good to have a voice, especially somebody in your peer group, age group, that has gone through it and is vulnerable, which is key. She said we could talk about anything.
Yes.
So we'll start there. You say 2017.
I did.
What happened in 2017? And then I'm assuming we'll jump back and forth throughout the story, but what happened you said 2017? Why was that a year?
2017 was the year I had moved to Hawaii. We're going to talk about how me and Michael, throughout that, whatever, we're going to get to it, but him and I started dating actually in 2016, so I guess I should say 2016, but for me it was...
And Michael is my brother, my younger brother. He passed away a few years back. I was my little brother. Had a lot of struggles and issues. He was, as if you know me, he's a beautiful man. Just like, that was my greatest life lesson in love. But she has a different take on, different insight to the situation of obviously having a child with him and being around him so long. So we'll talk about that. But that's who Michael is.
Yes, and I think when you had said that, it stood out to me when we were at his funeral. Everyone had all these great stories about him, and I didn't know him in his past life before the addiction and stuff like that. So I only seen him after. And I was like, who is this man? So
everybody was talking about.
Right. And I was like, who are you talking about? But I hope maybe that you can give some insight on who he was, to shine light on his past and to give people a backstory, because I don't have the entire backstory. I just know bits and pieces of him. And when I went up, I struggled because I was very angry. I struggled to say something positive, but all I could say is that I did my best throughout the relationship with him, and I have a blessing through him, so I can't knock him. I have Faith, and she's amazing.
Well, tell me, so you said angry. So we're talking at the funeral, and one of the interesting things is you said you didn't know that. What are they talking about? This isn't the Michael I know. And obviously, if we're talking about, you never know who you're going to reach with these talks, but I think what led to a lot of his problems is that's who he remembered he was, and he knew that everybody knew who he was, and he was fighting this stuff to be back to that guy, and it led to medication and whatever he did. But you say there you felt angry. Obviously, he passed. My emotion was just like sadness and loss.
Right.
The anger, what was that geared toward? Was it based on everything you had experienced, based that he had left, and or where was your head at?
D, all of the above.
Oh.
It was everywhere, scattered rain. So before we hop into that, I just want to put out the base of this podcast, the story. Why I'm starting is because I know he wanted to talk to people. I know he wanted to do videos, and we share that similar interest. But now I think I've overcome it with the grace of God, and I think now I can share my story. But so Michael had gone through some addiction issues and alcohol, and it went deep. I didn't know how it was going to end up, but he ended up passing away. I don't know if it was overdose or what.
How do you not know?
I was not talking to him.
Oh,
so you
okay,
can see where angry came from. All of a sudden he was just poof gone, and we're not on good terms.
Right.
So I was like, dang, it really sat deep in my heart. And it was just, I was angry at him, but it also started something in me. Oh, what's going on in my life? It was God showing me it's time to start whatever you're angry about in your own life. So in a way, it was a turn point for me. It was a blessing in disguise. I had to look at that situation and turn it around. But yes, the anger thing was because we were not on good terms.
Right.
I did not get to talk to him. The unknowing made me really uneasy. It was just like I was bombarded with, he just passed away, and it was my reality flipped, you know? Like,
yeah, definitely.
I was just talking to him. I was ignoring his calls.
Well, I remember so the situation with me was I had talked to you recently before he passed, and obviously he was going on a huge bender.
Yeah.
And I said, if that was my daughter, I wouldn't even let him babysit her. You just can't have that influence around her. And he got mad at me, was like, now I can't see my kid. But it was like for Faith, for you, it was the right, even for him, it was the right thing, because he was in no condition to be any type of positive influence. So that was my last area with him. Was I know he was angry with me because I had that talk with you, but I was coming from a father's standpoint, and hence you guys hadn't talked, and I know he was reaching out, but he was in a bad place. So
I definitely think it was demonic. Because the drugs, that drug especially, it was meth. And from what I know, Hawaii is the mecca of it. I mean, I could be wrong. It could be somewhere else, but it is heavy there. And part of the homeless population is because of that.
Right.
And then we see people all the time. They're talking to themselves. They're flipping people off. They're cussing people out. We're just walking by. This is why they have DARE. Go to it. I hope you passed. But he was not in the right state of mind. No matter how much he wanted to get back to the right state of mind, it was difficult for him. And that's where it ended. And I was like, I know, like, he had a lack of guidance, and it's nobody's fault. It is to their own if they want to reach out. You know what I mean?
Right.
But it's just, gosh, where do we even start? It gets so deep.
So let's go to, say, 2016. Obviously, you met.
Oh, boy.
I don't know. I don't think when you met him, he was doing drugs.
No, he wasn't.
Right. So take me through that introduction of who you met, and then we'll get to the transformation.
No, I was definitely in a vulnerable spot myself. I was still in a relationship. I was being dumb. I was young, early 20s. But we met at Applebee's, his old job, and he was my waiter. And I was with my best friend, my boyfriend. Then he went out of town without telling me, and I was like, "Excuse me, you're telling me last minute." And I was very angry. I guess I was angry. Geez, like I'm an angry person or what?
Yeah, maybe that's early on.
We will. But boy, was I in for a treat.
You're at Applebee's. You got this waiter, Michael Lawson, and you're showing your friend some videos, dancing videos. And he says, or I don't know, he said.
Yeah. So I was showing my best friend a music video I had been in. I was just in there. I wasn't dancing though.
Okay.
But I was like, "Oh, you want to see this?" I don't know. I just talk to people.
You said that to Michael.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I don't know, along the lines he was talking about, I'm a personal trainer. I don't know if he said, do you go to the gym or what? And I was like, yeah, I go to the gym on this street and this street. And he was like, oh, I train there. I don't think he really trained there. I think he was just saying that. He's a good salesman. I will say that. He was good at talking. And I was like, cool. he got me to do a training session with
So he did
him.
work there.
I think he worked at
He
the
went
one
and
in
got a job.
Henderson.
Okay.
And then he went over there
To train.
And that's the first time that we met. I was googly eyeing over him.
He's a very handsome
This
man.
is so embarrassing that it feels weird to talk about. I got a training session in with Michael. I heard someone in the parking lot, and I didn't know it was him. He was talking to somebody else, and it was somebody yelling
At him, or he was yelling?
He was yelling. And then I didn't realize it was him, because I was just like, oh, I don't want to get involved. I'm just going to go straight into the gym. And I was like, I'm going to mind my own business. We're going to get this done. I'm going to go home. And then later on, he asked me for a ride home. And I was like, sure, I can give you a ride home. I didn't know he lived that
after the first session.
After the first session, but I was like, okay, like this is kind of weird. I gave him a ride home, and then he had asked me on a date in the car ride, and I was like, I have a boyfriend. And so he got really upset. He got really upset.
He got, hold on. Now, I'm like, this is what we do, like when it comes to like talking to women and whatnot. So easy to talk to him, but you're saying he got upset. Did he get upset, or was it part of the pickup? Upset, or run me through what he was doing.
He was genuinely upset. We were in the car. I was driving. He was on the passenger side, and he asked me, and he was like, what did you just say? And then he was just like, embarrassed. And he's like, oh no, I'm embarrassed. And then he had texted me the whole night. And then I was just like, hey, thank you the next day, because he had also asked me to go to a day pool with him. I was like, no, I don't think I'm gonna do that. And he was really upset. So he was just, what was it? He put his wall up, and it was just weird after that. And so the next day when I thanked him, it was weird.
Well, okay, so you rejected him. You said no, but what was your thought process in it? Because obviously, were you just like, no, not interested, sticking to my guns, or were you just playing the game?
No, I wasn't playing a game. I'd like to think I'm genuine. But he asked me out when I had a boyfriend. I'm pretty loyal, so I was like, no. Like,
pretty, you say pretty loyal.
I say pretty loyal because when I get to that breaking point, it's just like, whatever. Like, I don't care. Like, my heart, I let go. And I think, everyone's different. But for me, it was, I'm still in a relationship. I'm going to deny him. He already knows I have a boyfriend.
And he had said, you told him that was your reasoning?
Okay. But I don't know. I think in his mind, he's like, well, I'm Michael. Yeah. I'm the law. He always said, Michael Lawson. I was like, what is that? But he seemed really distraught. Distraught's the word I was going to use. Okay. Very distraught, and I was like, this guy's playing around or what? He's trying to be funny? I thought he was playing a game.
Well, I would say he was.
Okay.
But it's very convincing. Unless there's a side of him I don't, because that's part of the confidence of you get shot down, you play the sad guy. But that's still part of the game. And then you get
the book?
Well, no. I'm just saying. Like, I'm just saying. Oh, we've all read that too, so he's probably versed in that. But I would say that I'm sure he knew what he was doing, or that everything doesn't come overnight. So
right.
It was part of the game.
That's how it started. That's how we met.
Okay.
And yeah. He always said Michael Lawson. I was like, what is